just in between?
Two separate.
Two separate. Ors go two separate directions. Okay, so what do we do for the first one?
Subtract number one.
We get x greater than or equal to 2. Alright, open or close circle at the 2.
Close.
And going to the,
Right.
okay. And then how do I solve this one?
Flip the fraction and multiply.
Okay, so you can multiply by 3/4. The other option is to divide by 4/3. Just make sure if you do that, you put the 4/3 in parentheses on your calculator. So you get x is less than -6. So open or closed?
Open.
And going to the,
Left.
everybody get that one? You guys better put your Chromebooks away, be looking at your papers right now. Alright, do I have a volunteer for problem 2? Riley? Okay, so we get 4x greater than or equal to 32. So x is greater than or equal to 8. So that would be open or closed?
Closed.
Going to the,
Right.
okay. Or this one, we get x is less than -1. So greater than or equal to 8 or less than -1. When you graph that, open or closed, and going to the, do we get number 2? Alright, number 3. Julius?
U minus 9.
-2x less than or equal to -14. And when you divide by a negative, what happens? So it's greater than or equal to 7. Okay. When you graph that, open or closed? It had an equal to on the left hand one. It had an equal to on the 7. And going to the right. Okay. How do I solve the other one?
Minus 13.
So we get 1/2 x is less than 2, and then what do we do? Either divide by a half or multiply by 2, either way, just put the 1/2 in parentheses if you divide it, and you get x is less than 4. Open or close of the 4, and going to the, alright, are you guys getting these so far? Number 4.
Minus 2.
So we get 5x is greater than or equal to 35. Then we,
Divide by 5.
x is greater than or equal to 7. Open or close at the 7.
Close.
Going to the,
Plus. Oh. Yeah, right.
right.
X is greater than this.
Yeah. Okay. What about the other one?
Plus 7.
So then we have negative x is greater than 5. How do we get rid of that negative?
1.
It's like a -1, so we can divide by -1. If you divide by a negative, what happens?
It changes.
Less than negative. Open or close at -5,
Open.
and going to the,
Left.
because ors go opposite directions. Okay. Number 5. Before time.
Plus 5.
Okay, so we get 2x is greater than -6, and then we
Divide.
divide by 2. Since it's a positive, nothing flips, so x is greater than -3. Are you guys remembering to flip when you divide by a negative? We did a lot of those yesterday to help you remember. So that would be open or closed. open at -3 and going to the, okay, and this one,
6.
we get -10x greater than or equal to 50, and what happens when we do that? So we get x is less than or equal to -5, okay, open or closed, and going to the, so those are all the ors. Now we get into these where it's just one big inequality. What do these graphs look like? They're connecting, it's in between two. Alright, do we have a volunteer? Holden?
You add the 10 to both sides.
So we get -14 less than or equal to 2x less than or equal to 4.
5 to 2.
So we get -7 less than or equal to x less than or equal, or sorry, no equal to on that, it's less than. Okay, so open or close at -7. And what about the 2? It's just in between the two. Alright. Then, number 7.
-1.
So we have -54 less than 9x less than -27. And then, does anything flip? No, because we divided by a positive. So -6 is less than x is less than -3. So how do we graph it? Open or closed? And it ends at -3 with another open. Okay. Number 8. Who wants this one? Gabe, why don't you do this one then? What do we do first? Maybe you should be paying attention.
First, we're gonna subtract 4 from both sides.
So -48 greater than -8x greater than or equal to -64, and then
Divide the -8
what happens when we do that?
with the inequalities.
So we get 6 less than x less than or equal to 8. So that's open at 6, closed at 8, and just in between the two. Alright, are you guys getting these correct? Okay, who wants number 9? Kale, looks like you're up. What do I do on this one?
You should do 3 or 3x.
And then what do we do?
You add 12.
So we get -45 less than or equal to 9x less than 36, and then we 5 and 9. So we get -5 less than or equal to x less than 4. Open or close at -5?
What? Maybe 5.
And 4? And it's just in between the two. Alright, number 10. Noah, why don't you do that one?
Distribute the 1/2.
So we get -39 less than or equal to 5x minus 9 less than or equal to 16. And then
Add the 9.
than or equal to 25, and then,
Divide by five.
so we get -6 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 5. Open or closed?
Close for negative.
And at +5,
Close.
and it's in between the two. Alright, doing pretty well with those. Let's flip this page over. So the absolute values. What do you have to remember first on these absolute values?
Get rid of anything that's not in the absolute.
Right. You have to get the absolute value by itself first. And then you have to be able to decide if it's an and or an or. Which is which?
Great or then.
Great or. So if it's a greater, it's an or. Less than is an and. Take a few minutes and work on those, please. Let's talk about this first one. I'm seeing a lot of mistakes as I walk around. Who can tell me where to begin? No?
Divide by 10.
Yeah.
I thought you said no.
So when you do that, a lot of you are skipping this step, and that's why you're messing up later on. It's important to write this step where the absolute value is by itself, for two reasons. First of all, we know that this is a 5. That's important. Second of all, we have to decide, is this an and or an or? Or. So get the absolute value by itself. Don't try to skip this line. We need it. So for our or, we do two pieces. One, everything stays the same. Or for the other one, what do we do?
Flip the inequality and -5.
Flip the inequality and make it a negative. Okay, is everybody okay with this part? Now this is another or problem like we were doing on the front side. So we solve it. We subtract our 5. So -6m is greater than 0. Divide by -6. When I divide by a negative, what happens?
Flips.
So the m is less than 0. Or, subtract my 5, so -6m is less than -10. Divide by -6, so it flips. -10 over -6, it reduces to 5/3. Or you could say 1.6 repeating. So I get here. So less than 0, open circle is 0, going to the left. Greater than 5/3. 5/3 is between 1 and 2. Open circle, going to the right. Okay, but that first part highlighted in yellow, that's where I saw a lot of mistakes. You guys didn't divide by the 10. Or you did, but you didn't write that step, so you didn't know if you had ands or ors at that point. Alright. So a few people that haven't helped out yet. Number 12, who can tell me where I would start? Keaton? Sorry, I guess number 2 on this. What would you do first?
I ain't got it yet.
Well, that's okay. Just walk me through it. If it's divided by 7, what's the opposite of dividing?
What?
If I want to get the absolute value by itself, I have to get rid of the divided by 7. What's the opposite of dividing by 7? Well, multiply by 7. This is the step I do not want you to skip. We have to get the absolute value by itself first. Then I have to decide if it's and or. Remember, less than is an and, right? Or is an or. So which one is this? Greater, so it's an or. So when we have ors, we're looking at two separate pieces. The first one, we just drop the absolute value. The other one, flip it and make it a negative. Alright, how would I solve this?
Plus 6.
So we get 10n greater than or equal to 27. Divide by 10. Again, these aren't working out perfectly, but that's okay. N is greater than or equal to 2.7. Or, so, greater than or equal to 2.7. Equal to is closed. Greater is going to the right. This one. Add our 6. So we get 10n less than or equal to negative 15. Divide by 10. So n is less than or equal to negative 1.5. Equal to, closed, going to the left. So get your absolute value by itself first, then we decide, and or. Let's keep going through these together. Jetta, on this one, can you tell me where I would begin?
Multiply -6.
Let's just focus on getting absolute value by itself first. So how would we get rid of the plus 8?
Subtract.
So then we have negative 6 times this absolute value. And this is probably, these are probably problems where everyone needs to be paying the most attention. These are where we've had the most trouble. If I'm getting rid of this negative 6 and I divide by it, what happens to my inequality? Okay. Do not skip writing this step. When I look at this, is that and or? Okay. And means it's in between two numbers, right? We have a start and we have a stop. So, what we do is we put it in between -4 and +4. So we put the negative on one side, positive on the other. Now we solve. So we add our 4. Divide everything by 9. So we get 0. It's less than n. It's less than 8/9 doesn't work out perfectly. You can give me the decimal or keep it as a fraction. Either one is fine. Open or close circles. Open. So open at 0. 8/9 is just before 1. And we're only shading in between the two. Alright. Do you guys understand the difference between the ands and the ors and how to set those up? Nicole, can you tell me where I begin here?
Add the 7 -1.
Add the -1, so add 1 to each side. 7 is multiplied with this absolute value. So how do we get rid of a times 7? Absolute value. -5n - 3 is less than or equal to 17. Now I decide, is this and or? And, because less than is an and. How do we set up an and?
You put a less than or equal to on the other side of opposite from 7. -7.
Okay, so now if we solve this, we add 3 to everything. So we get -14 less than or equal to only divide by -5.
Here's fine.
Alright, so these don't work out perfectly, let's just do the decimals. -14 divided by -5 turns into 28 greater than or equal to n, greater than or equal to -4. You could flip that around, that means -4 is less than or equal to n, is less than or equal to 2.8, either way, but we have to be able to graph it. So it's saying, we know and is in between, starts at -4, ends at 2.8, and it's in between the two. Okay, take a few seconds and look at those last 5 problems. I want everybody to try those, please. All right, a number. What do we put for a number? X is no more than, so it can't be more than, what can it be? Yeah, less than or equal to 35. Your grade, what are we going to put for our grade? X must be at least, what does at least mean?
Greater than or equal to
7. Okay, the speed limit, so our speed, if the speed limit is 65, what can we do? A number, so a number is x, is more than 12. So x is greater than 12. Did you guys get all of those? Alright, last question. This is like something you would see off the EOC. A lot of times they have you solve something and then they check to see, do you even know what your answer means? So for this one, we would have to solve that inequality, which you guys all know how to do. We subtract our 4. We have -10 less than or equal to 2x less than 4. Divide everything by 2. So -5 less than or equal to x is less than 2. Okay, so what that means, we're starting at -5. It ends at 2. I'm asking which values are not in the solution. So the solution is the shaded part. Is 2 in my solution?
Yes.
Is it? I have a 2, but what kind of circle do I have there?
An open circle.
Open. That means it's less than 2, but can it equal 2? No. So is 2 part of the solution?
No.
It's not. Alright, is 0 part of my solution?
Yes.
Yes. Is -5?
Yes.
Yes, because that one is a closed circle. Is -3 part of my solution? Yeah, that's shaded. And is -6 part of my solution?
No.
No. So the 2 that are not are the 2 in -6. Alright. Test is tomorrow. If you guys need anything, let me know.